Doctor Corner podcast. My name is Geoff and his name is Paul, and we are here this week to take a look at the latest 13th Doctor adventure from Big Finish. This is called Ride or Die, and it's written by Roshana Patel, and this is the fourth release in the series. For me, very exciting, new 13th Doctor content. As I said, this one was written by Roshana Patel. She also did The Legend of Baba Yaga in the Fugitive Doctor Most Wanted box set, and she wrote the first two parts of the Trials of a Time Lord, which were part of the 6th Doctor's 40th anniversary celebrations, which was an excellent box set, that one. And she's
have
also
you listened
done...
to that?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
I need to get on that one.
Fantastic, yeah. That was the one where I think it was, it's that one, because there was two sort of 40th celebrations for 6E.
Right.
One with different sixes from different points in the timeline. So we had Perry with him, or Constance Clark, and so that was kind of an epic 60 thing. And then the Trials of a Time Lord was sort of a reality show spoof type thing. And it was really good. They were both, honestly, if you haven't listened to either of these, they are excellent. They were great fun, and just brilliant, really. So yeah, this Ride or Die, the Doctor and Yaz, this is from the Big Finish website, gets sent a list of coordinates, each one pointing to a location in time and space where people are disappearing. But why? The trail takes them to a war-torn world where conscripted humans are battling the terrifying Banshee. And can the Doctor end this conflict before she loses her best friend? So this one, it starts out sort of reasonably kind of light-hearted. The Doctor is fiddling with some sort of holographic, what does he have called, like orange bits?
Orange swirly things.
That's it, orange swirly things.
Right in front of your face.
And the Doctor's been sent these coordinates, and she thinks it's a trap. And she says, it's a bit wrong, and that's my go-to, isn't it? Or Yaz says that, and the Doctor says, who hurt you, kind of thing.
Yeah, which is quite important, I think, towards the end of it, isn't it? It's one of these lines that's kind of dropped in there and seems a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But actually becomes quite key to how the Doctor is approaching a lot of things that happen to her in life, that her default is actually, this is a trap.
Yeah.
It affects her judgment, it affects the way she acts.
Yeah.
Giving too much away, but...
Yes, it does, yeah. So then they follow the coordinates and end up in Afghanistan.
That's quite hardcore, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, you're in Afghanistan?
Wasn't sort of
this is full on.
Expecting that. And then there's a bit of a sort of surprise appearance there, isn't there? Would you like to elaborate?
Why do you land this on me? What surprise appearance? I have literally no idea what you're talking about. Now I'm thinking I've misheard this. Go on, tell me, what is it?
It's UNIT, isn't it?
They don't appear. She references them, but they don't appear as
I
such.
thought the guy was
did
from
I miss
UNIT.
it?
Yeah.
No, they're the US Army.
Oh, but they knew who the Doctor was.
Yeah, because they've sort of heard the rumours of UNIT, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, I maybe I misheard it then.
That's right. Everybody, it was Geoff who misheard that bit, not
Sergeant
me.
Johnson. Yeah,
Sergeant Johnson
thought it was they were UNIT, but the Doctor says, "I'm still on the payroll," sort of thing, doesn't she?
Which again becomes key for later on, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I like about this. That thing of like dropping in what's gonna all the elements that are gonna contribute towards the resolution of the story quite early on, and then kind of feathering them throughout the narrative. I do like that technique.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of kind of later payoff in this one.
Chekhov's gun, I believe it's technically called.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. So they end up, the Doctor and Yaz get separated, don't they? And Yaz, they go to Sheffield, don't they, in 2021?
Right. So when they're in Afghanistan, they see this US Army kind of armoured personnel carrier sort of trundling across the terrain towards them.
That's it.
And then it appears to get blown up, but it vanishes in a great blaze of light, which turns out to be some kind of dimensional rift. The Doctor somehow gets a sort of track on it, realises there's going to be another one happening pretty soon in Sheffield, right outside Yaz's home, whips over there with Yaz, TARDIS lands, blah blah blah, and just as they're about to kind of track this dimensional thing occurring, an ambulance starts coming past. Yaz says, "Oh no, innocent people are about to get drawn into this dimensional instability thing." She runs out, takes on her police officer kind of role, and stops the ambulance. The ambulance stops. Paramedic gets out and says, "Are you Yaz? Are you Yaz?" It's Megan, an old flame from years past, who then gets zapped into the dimensional rift along with Yaz. The Doctor's left alone, thinks, uh-oh, better go track them, jumps back in the TARDIS and tracks them through. But she ends up, so they all end up on this kind of planet which has been christened Rock, which I love, which is brilliant. I love that. Rock! And so we've got the US Army troops that they saw in Afghanistan, and now there's a much bigger army. And so the Doctor ends up speaking to the general, whoever's in charge of all that kind of thing. But Yaz is with Megan out in the field somewhere, getting hit by these new aliens, the Banshee.
Yeah, and the Banshee are, I'll be honest, I was sort of slightly expecting this to be some sort of possibly slightly spooky fantasy type thing, which was because of Legend of Baba Yaga being that kind of theme, and also the art on the front of this. You can see the Banshee, and it kind of it's got wings to it, and it's sort of screaming kind of thing. But it's not really like that, is it? So that was kind of a
much more kind of sci-fi, and yet also more down to earth and slightly more prosaic than that as well. I think it's a good choice, to be honest. I think, given the kind of seriousness of the themes of this story, I think laying too heavy on the fantasy side would have kind of undermined it. It would have diluted those messages, I think.
Yeah,
actually, sorry, just before you do, saying that, and another thing I enjoy about this, actually, there's a lot of nice kind of Wizard of Oz sort of references
they do
throughout, which I love, actually. I mean, anyone who references the Wizard of Oz, because for me, the Wizard of Oz is the eternal story of what? I'm not entirely sure, but it just seems to reference my life so much. Not that I've ever been whipped away to a land of munchkins and evil witches, but I think in terms of its thematic content, it's so deeply embedded in our culture and our experience that it's really important. And I love the way it's kind of brought out. And the first line that the Doctor says about this is they're talking about the Wizard of Oz, because obviously they've been transported away to a different dimension and stuff. And Yaz says a bit like the Wizard of Oz, and the Doctor says, "Well, yeah, you don't think that was just made up, do you?" Which was brilliant. There's a few other, as things start to get a little bit more serious further on.
Yeah. So I was not necessarily expecting per se something different to what we got, but like I hadn't been thinking, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be like that's. I thought that it was going to be that kind of thing from the art and things like that, and
you kind of led into that sort of expectation, aren't you? I think from the tunnel. I
think you're right. The fact that it wasn't was fine, and the sort of revelation of what the Banshee are was great. I think a sort of alien race who use sound as a weapon. That's why they call them the Banshee, isn't it?
Words as a weapon,
words,
I think is what they use, isn't it? But they've got these. But also, again, I'm assuming everybody's kind of listened to it before then.
Let's just, if you haven't listened, go and listen to it, and then come back to this.
I'm going to drop a little spoiler just now, so if you haven't listened to it, go away, do that, come back.
Yeah.
But it turns out the Banshees, or at least some of them, if not all of them, are manufactured.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, again, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but there's an element of this kind of almost like Alien. You've got a biomechanoid kind of race manufactured to be a weapon, but it obviously has its own. The race that the people, the Banshees, have their own conscience, their own individuality. So, and I would love to have seen that explored a little bit more. It wasn't. It was kind of reference, and then we kind of move on. But I would love to sort of dig into that and learn a little bit more of them. I also love as well. I mean, the thing about Banshees, maybe they have a slightly different thing for me than they do for you, so I don't immediately think of the kind of spooky fantasy fairy tale element. But I do think definitely of Mass Effect, where they're featured in that. So there's the Banshees in Mass Effect 3, I think it is, where you have to shoot. And the scream that they use in Mass Effect 3, I kid you not, it's exactly the same as the one they use in Big Finish, or it's very similar, right? I'll say it's not exactly the same, it's very similar, because I'm sure they created that sound themselves, and it's just how would a Banshee sound? Well, we know it's a scream because of all the legends and everything else. Give it a little bit of an effect and it becomes that. So the developers behind Mass Effect 3 obviously did the same kind of process and come out with something very similar. But hearing it on the Big Finish thing, because I listened to it on my headphones late at night, and it was like I was instantly back there battling Banshees in some scary tomb-like kind of environment. So well done, Big Finish, for that, taking me into the heart of my trauma.
I don't know why I didn't suddenly think about Avatar Banshees.
There you go. Yeah, well, they're different though, aren't they? Did they scream?
Well, they make a hell of a noise, yeah.
Right,
which is, but they're
scream of the Banshee.
Flying.
That's what they're identified by, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, I quite like that, like you said, sort of slightly alien, where they're kind of, bio sort of weapon type things. And so this story, it sort of focuses quite a bit on Yaz again this time, doesn't it? And
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
there's quite a bit of. I was trying to think when it was set, but her friend Megan, like you said, they were an old flame. It was more that I think Megan liked her.
Yeah, Megan had a crush on Yaz, and it wasn't
at that point,
fully reciprocated.
Well, I don't think Yaz kind of. There was sort of a line, or she wasn't sort of fully. Kind of aware at the time, the Doctor I sort of felt she was maybe a little bit jealous, perhaps. There was I picked up on
maybe
something, but also still quite oblivious and not really that kind of sort of not bothered but aware, so it was quite nice to sort of get a bit on Yaz and things, and there was talk about how, she just disappeared and she hadn't done her policing stuff for a long time. And, because in the show, all of that kind of stopped really. And it's, you just sort of assume, well, she's traveling with a doctor and we don't know how long a time period this is. And, perhaps she's gone back to it and, blah, blah, blah. And so, but to sort of go into that a little bit more and kind of have this, sort of explanation of what Yaz's life outside of the TARDIS has been like was quite good, and it also made me think a little bit of like when Rose goes missing, it's a year. Do you remember in the show she's been gone for ages, but actually it's only been like a day,
like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
2 for her. Yeah,
and that thing of. When a companion, they've got friends, but then they're suddenly gone for ages, and a bit again like Ryan with his friend in, Can You Hear Me, who hasn't seen him for ages. So that was nice that they kind of dived into that a bit more and how Yaz feels about the Doctor, and amazing she is and things. So that was good, yeah. And then the end of is there anything that you said you had a few notes actually? Is there anything that you wanted to discuss?
Oh, was that it? That's the end of your stuff.
No.
I'm just teasing you, mate. Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, I'm just picking up on what you were saying there. Actually, it's one of the things I like about the modern series of Doctor Who and how Big Finish have kind of tapped into that. And I think actually Big Finish had started looking at this prior to the advent of the modern series, I believe. This idea of taking the companions out of their lives, out of time and space almost, and the old series, the classic series, never really dealt with that disruption. Rarely, really. I think it was Sarah Jane possibly when she returned to Croydon, or wherever it was at the end of Hand of Fear, but not much. The Doctor dropped her off in the wrong sort of place. I think Tegan possibly at the end of Resurrection of the Daleks, but the times it's done that has been relatively few and far between.
Minimal,
so I do like the fact that they dealt with it in the one series, and it's different each time. I think actually, looking at Rose, what happened with Rose, it was a real sort of disruption, and there was a kind of there was a sort of tragedy about it, but I think it was overridden by the pace of events with the Slitheen and everything else. And it was also done for a few lols as well, so there were some laughs to be had. But in this one, actually, this realization that Yaz has, that she's got to keep one foot grounded on Earth at home, because she doesn't know how long her time with the Doctor is going to last.
Yeah.
She knows it's not going to last forever. She doesn't want to just suddenly be abandoned and left traumatized almost, by this sudden leaving of the Doctor, which is what's kind of happened with a lot of the others. She doesn't know how it's going to happen, but when it does, she wants to have a home she can come back to have friends, to have a family, to have things like familiar surroundings that she can try and slot back into. So I do enjoy that, and I think that's a real standout moment for me in this piece.
Yeah. There's quite a lot of thinking about kind of post adventure life in it. So we, I was going to say we had a couple of comments and things, didn't we? Did you have anything else you wanted to cover first?
Yeah, I mean,
because we'll come to the end.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, this story, in terms of its actual plot, follows a kind of it's very linear. It kind of follows one from the other. It's quite fast moving. It's well paced. And I must admit, I wasn't entirely sure about it until it started dealing directly with themes of warfare and the implications of that. I'm making it sound quite heavy. It's not. Tonally, actually, it's very, very light. It's a very easy listen. I thought the some of the side characters, certainly the "Hoorah!" shouting US Army dudes, were a little bit maybe kind of cliche. There's nothing really there to kind of get into. I would have liked to have seen more from the Banshees, but that's not. It's almost like to say the plot isn't what this story is about. Really, I think that's where I'm kind of getting to. The story is about. At least where's my note? 'Cause I put this in actually. It's about the kind of. It's about our complicitness in the mechanics of warfare. I think we all go about our daily lives. Those of us who are not soldiers, who are not politicians, who get our hands dirty with this sort of stuff, and we can rage and we can have opinions on who's right and who's wrong, and who should be fighting and who shouldn't. All of that kind of stuff. And there's a huge amount of it going on right now, as we all know. And this kind of says, in a way, we're kind of complicit because we're kind of financing it. The payoff towards the end of this is that the Doctor and Yaz find out that the whole of this situation on Rock has been set up purely by a company looking to make it to make a profit, basically, which is not a new thing in this kind of story, right? Because people profit out of warfare, selling arms and manipulating governments and corporations and all sorts of stuff. But all of us, most of us have a pension fund, right, or some investment somewhere, and we don't know necessarily where those investments are going. You can make ethical investments where the investor tells you that you're not being used to fund any kind of warfare or slavery or anything which is morally ambiguous at best. But you still don't really know.
No.
Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. And it doesn't actually. It sort of comments on that, but doesn't reach any conclusion on it, because as honest people, normal people going about our daily business, how far do we want to look into that? We've got other things. We're distracted by all kinds of other stuff instead. So we don't look too closely at it. Maybe we should. The story doesn't tell us we should. It merely poses the question, I think, which is good. And yes, so for me, that's the more interesting part of the story for me, the themes behind it. There's a moment again referencing Wizard of Oz where the Doctor says to Yaz, "Let's look behind the curtain." So again, referencing the sort of pulling away the curtain and just seeing this old man sort of grinding gears. That's exactly what they do. They find this kind of brain in a jar,
as
Yaz describes it, which immediately put me in mind back into Morbius. But there's this thing there which is kind of controlling events, and basically supplying both sides with troops in the case of the Banshee, because they're their own sort of weapons, and stuff that's manufactured on Earth almost, or seems to be manufactured on Earth for the human side. There's a really nice moment where we're told that there's like 40 million people on this planet or something. It's kind of, because normally with Doctor Who, we're dealing in small cast, a small cast of people.
Yeah.
We got maybe a handful of rebels or soldiers or whatever it is, but no, there's a full-on population on this planet. So suddenly the stakes are a lot higher. It's not just a dozen soldiers who are going to get killed if this thing goes south. It's actually an entire population that's been transplanted onto this world over centuries and grown and developed and been constantly at war. So I think that is a really nice thing, and part of me really wanted to dig more into that. But we don't. We have this very kind of almost, I'm sort of devaluing it by saying it's a run-of-the-mill plot, but it sort of is. It's the plot that you would kind of expect once things start grinding into gear. The more interesting stuff is below that. There's a lot of layers, and that for me is where the real sort of meat and bones of this story is. So I love all of that, and I love the fact that they they follow the money. So they find this brain in a jar called Prospero. What that is, again, it's brilliant. It's repurposed alien tech that at some point must have been on Earth, and it's been used by somebody basically to do what it's doing right now. It also put me in mind of the Doctor Who story, the Fourth Doctor story, The Sunmakers, where again you've got a corporation that is literally just usurping or using an entire population of people just for its own benefit. And of course there's a relevance to the way that you could view us right now being used by the corporations. Are we kind of just human resources? Are we just factory fodder? Are we kind of being told what we have to be angry about so that we don't look too closely or dare to peer behind the curtain? So I love all of that stuff. I thought it was great. And there's, as I was going to say, there's a sort of almost a sort of prosaic ordinariness to how this story resolves. It's just a human corporation, but saying that actually, again, sort of devalues it. It's not a big alien terror threat. The threat is homegrown. It's of our own making. And there's a brilliant line that the Doctor says that if you can't overcome your primitive tribal urge to destroy each other, you'll never have the future you want. That is really super powerful, I think, especially right now, given the way that things are standing on the global stage with just a few geriatric actors determining how all our lives are going to go. But unless we break out of this kind of complicitness that we're all sort of being steered into, getting angry at the wrong things, we're never going to be able to change this stuff. We're just going to go from one generation to another, just being used and usurped and manipulated by the warmongers, which sounds really, really bleak, but it happens, and this is a story that would have been written a few years back, I would imagine, because all these things were recorded a couple of years back, right?
Yeah, I just looked on the Big Finish website and it said June last year.
June last year, so it would have been written sometime and planned sometime before then. So this is probably almost about sort of 2 years from conception to when we're actually seeing it. And in that way, it shows itself to be a very kind of prescient script in some ways, looking ahead to to kind of situation that we're in now. But in other ways, this kind of cycle has been repeated through history for centuries, and we still, as a human race, have never been able to break out of it. Because maybe we don't want to, because people get rich off this stuff. So the 1% of the 1% stay above everybody else and get what they need, while the rest of us kind of, are told to be angry at things that we really shouldn't be angry about.
Go along with it. All of the things that you just mentioned, this is very sort of authentic to the era with, the sort of the worst people with the worst things in it being human, or being a brain in a jar. But it's sort of putting a mirror up to the worst parts of our selves and our world, which is something that the televisual era did quite a lot of. I think
definitely.
So we put out onto social, didn't we, to get some feedback from people.
Yes.
Twitter failed us this time. We didn't get anything there.
But then that's Twitter or X now, isn't it?
Maybe. Have you checked Blue Sky?
I've just had a quick look on Blue Sky. We got a lot of stuff from Katie Haynes. And actually we got some voice notes, so we'll play those in a moment. But needless to say, Katie was bowled over by the story.
Yes.
Just as a kind of counter to that, I guess we've got one comment on our Facebook page from Samantha Lee Schenk, who has contributed feedback to us before. Thank you, Samantha, for this one, but I don't think Samantha was so keen because she says loving the extras and the interview content more than the story in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That's probably bad. She doesn't say what she didn't like or maybe didn't enjoy so much about the story, but nonetheless that's something. But maybe another listen will change your mind, Samantha. I don't know. Maybe it is one of those stories. I think on a surface level, it's just one thing we've heard before after another, but actually that is the vehicle towards tackling the themes that it starts to explore. And I think actually maybe that's the thing as well. It starts to explore them, but it doesn't necessarily follow them all the way through. But that's where we come in as listeners, I think. I think it's down to us to kind of put the pieces together.
Yeah, you can take it on the surface level, or you can dive deeper. I certainly plan to re-listen, as I have done to all of the 13 adventures so far, and kind of get into it a bit more. I was going to say there's a good video that Big Finish posted on YouTube and with Jodie answering fan questions, one of which was from Dennis Gilster, who often comments to us, so I think I messaged him. He didn't know, so he was quite chuffed about that, so that was really good. There were some great questions on there, so that's good. I haven't listened to the behind the scenes stuff that you get on the audio download, because for some reason now they don't include it on the app.
I know, because it used to flow straight into that after the thing finished, but now you download it. I mean, it's all part of the thing, isn't it? You've just got to hit the download.
Yeah, but it's just a bit annoying. I could finish the story and then
annoying. Come on, Big Finish, what are you playing at? Just do what you used to. Why do you change it? If it's not broken, don't try and fix it.
Yeah, I don't know why they've done that. And then they did have extras on one of the 13, but it was only a cut down version of it.
Yeah, I think where do they do they have like the main content on their website or on their own podcast or something?
It's only if you've bought it. So I downloaded the stuff for Ride or Die, but it's fine, but it's just a bit inconvenient to have to I've bought. Why am I not getting it on the digital?
I've already paid my money, Big Finish, and I got the CD as well. Actually, is the whole bonus feature? Are they all on the CDs?
I don't know.
What's tinging? Are you getting notifications? Have you not turned your sound off?
No, because I've got a package that needs to be picked up today, so I'm kept my phone on in case they turn up at the door.
So we don't have we and your loyal listeners don't have your full attention.
Yeah, sorry.
Apologies, listeners.
If I miss
Jeff's got his eye on his delivery.
But no, it's a pickup, which is very important.
Is
today.
It? Right. Okay.
It will make sense in the future.
Yeah.
But I need to be. If they ring the bell, I have to go to run to it quickly. Yes. So we didn't get any comments on Blue Sky about this. And in fairness, people may not have had the chance to listen to it all yet.
No, it literally came out yesterday, Jeff. So there is that.
Yeah. But would you like to play Katie's thoughts?
Because we did actually get comments from Katie on. Well, she messaged us directly, and I think actually on Blue Sky, what she said was. She's going to basically send us a voice note because she's got a lot to say.
Yeah.
So let's have a listen to what Katie Haynes, who is our 13th Doctor in our audio adventures, has to say about Ride or Die.
If this is Ride or Die, then I am Ride or Die for this audio. I'm absolutely serious. Not only did this audio need to come out, it's my new favorite of the series. It is genuinely my new favorite. Like, I was loving everything that came out, but I nearly broke down and cried with some of these. Again, phenomenal performances. The writing for this one could not have been more timely, thought out, beautiful, both in the exploration of the impact of war, the idea of words becoming weapons, how when we do not look, nobody knows where our pension funds go. So again, slap in the face there in a beautiful way, like, hey, wake up. As well as the exploration of Yaz's feelings for the Doctor. I loved her conversation with Megan in the car. Everything about this audio was so beautiful and heartfelt. Absolutely 13 out of 10. so unbelievably brilliant.
Okay, so that's
great.
Katie's first voice note.
Yeah.
Let's play her
I'm
second
going to
one.
gush a little bit more. Everything about this. This went from 0 to 90 immediately. The second they landed in Afghanistan, I was like, oh no, we're going there. I loved Megan's character. So many of the lines in this audio, too late to become a soldier, using words as weapons, the little details in what it means for words to be a weapon, what it means to actually listen and speak before listening. Yaz's reaction, oh my God. When I tell you, I've wondered about those moments. When Yaz says, give me another option, I will not stop saying how good this audio is, how everybody needs to listen to it. Gold standard, Big Finish, right here. No notes. Literally no notes. This is it. This is, I can't, this is, oh my God. I can't really I can only put into emotions that, like, I needed this. I needed this audio so badly. Everybody was perfect in it.
Wow, quite an emotional reaction there from Katie.
And I suspect that she's not the only 13th fan who's, responding that way. We've got a couple more from Katie, haven't we? I'll just say quickly, we haven't had, voice notes sent in for a little while. But if anyone, wants to send us anything, to be featured on the podcast, you go to...
Get your voice on our podcast. Yeah.
You go to speakpipe.com/whoc2c, and you can record a short message for us there, and then we'll get that emailed over to us.
We'll pop the link out on our socials.
We need to do it a bit more, I think. But it's great to hear from people on things. Yeah, and also what Katie said there about, and the sort of theme of words as weapons. I mean, it's very true with social media these days, and just everything sort of being weaponized and used, and it's just the anger that's out there. Right, would you like to play Katie's next?
Yes, here we go.
Absolutely, one more here. Every writer who has come on board for the 13th Doctor has captured her voice perfectly, and Rashana Patel, who I know has done other Big Finish audios, but oh my God, the moments here, just everybody was so beautifully written. No notes on the voice acting at all. Obviously, everybody is just spot on here, and I loved the the transition between what we saw. I wanted to see more of Rock. I wanted to see kind of the develop. Again, this is a future audio. As well as now I am fully invested in the Tourist, in what this entity is, what it wants with the Doctor, and how this is. We've had hints that this is something that is lost and lonely and wants something. What does it want? Does it want the Doctor? Does it want to become the Doctor? Is this, a precursor to what Sacha Dhawan's master does in Power of the Doctor? Is it looking for a friend? Why is it so desperate for the Doctor? But I am invested. I want to know more. This is, again, Chimes of Midnight level. Well done.
So the Tourist, which we haven't talked about in this show yet. So come on then. So we have right at the end of Ride or Die. Again, apologies if you haven't listened to it, but refer to my note earlier. The general, I keep calling him the general. I'm not sure if he is a general, but whoever's in charge of the army has some kind of episode at the end of this, by way of a kind of epilogue, right? And we hear them kind of voices start breaking out.
Yeah,
it's multiple kind of
voices,
and then some words come out, presumably from the tourist or whatever this entity is, right? We still don't know, but there's a sort of combination of kind of male, female kind of tones in there. There's a bit of synthesizing effect, a lot of alien weirdness going on. And so it turns out that the tourist potentially sent this message for the Doctor at the start of this story to follow. The Doctor, again, because she thinks initially it's a trap, goes into it considering that. But then there's the question, as Katie said, right at the end of it, what if actually it's not a trap? What if it was just a, hello, hi, I'm here, you know, what about me kind of thing, you know, please, let's get together and have some fun or whatever, you know, which the Doctor isn't used to getting because the Doctor's lifestyle
she just assumes really it's a trap on any message. It was a really good cliffhanger ending there, and like you said, quite you know, this kind of cacophony of voices coming out, and I can't remember the exact wording that the tourist said, but you know, I was sort of picturing it in my head, you know, and if that was on screen. That would be
quite impressive.
Yeah, that would be a Village of the Angels level cliffhanger. That was, you know, that's really exciting. And I'm this is not a pop, but I remember saying about the tourist way back in Vampire Weekend, and you hadn't sort of clocked anything, and didn't, you know, notice it. And Tim Foley said that there's things that will sort of pay off. So I'm wondering whether, you know, so there's 12 stories in this first season, and I wonder whether the tourist will sort of be bits throughout that. Maybe like 11 and 12 or something will be the kind of payoff of that, or perhaps it will be 6
We're only
episodes.
on number 4 though, so
so it's a long time
I hope
to kind
we
of
get to it a bit sooner than
but
that.
then, you know, if it was on screen, you know, you'd have it over 10 episodes maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
You know? But I wonder whether they'll do 6 episodes. That will be season 1, and then the other half will be season 2 or something.
Very possibly. 12 is quite a lot. I mean, 12 over 12 weeks is one thing, but 12 over, what is it like? 2.5 18
years.
Months?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. 20, 30 months.
It's still run through to next
That's
year.
a lot.
So yeah. But it's, I'm, you know, from that first mention of the tourist, I was like, oh, this is cool. We're getting a bit more than, you know, just adventure of the week. So, you know, I think it's quite exciting to be getting a overarching thing on it all.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm not. I mean, I've never been that invested in the idea of the tourist. For me, at the moment, well, probably up until this story, it's just been one more. I don't know, just one more word. You know, one more noun. You know, the name of some evil entity or bad guy or whatever it is that the Doctor has to battle. But now I'm starting thinking, okay, so maybe. What if it isn't? What if there's actually more to that? And I hope this is going to be true. I hope it's not just another ranting alien evil villain, you know, that we've had so much of, not just in Big Finish, but throughout the whole of Doctor Who, across all sorts of media. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, but we've had a lot of them. So it's nice when the format is kind of broken, when the villain is actually much more layered or whatever. It's just not just a ranting guy in a big costume and a mask or something. You know? So I hope it's not reduced down to that.
Yeah, well, it already sort of feels like there's going to be something.
It does now,
different with it. You know,
so let's fingers crossed. That's going to be the case.
Yeah,
and that Big Finish aren't going to let me down. So we've got one more note from Katie. So let's have a listen to this and see what she says by way of wrapping up her thoughts.
And another one, because I've got so much to say. I could break this down into a whole 3-hour podcast. The exploration of Thasmin and that one line, it only takes, you know, sexuality is a spectrum. And I loved Megan talking to Yaz about that. I do like that, you know, it's kind of suggested that the Doctor couldn't hear what was being said back there, and also she's completely focused on preventing a war, so it wouldn't be it wouldn't be the focus on her mind. She's like, I've got to protect these people. The emotion, the world building, I felt like I was there. The God, even like the ethics of war, the ethics of what it means to be, from going from a civilian to a soldier, what's that one moment where we wouldn't put the gun down? Would we have the strength to put the gun down? Would Yaz have put the gun down if the Doctor hadn't been there? And the ending, oh my God, the bait. Yaz, just say something. Oh my God. I love this so much.
Well, okay, so thank you so much for your input on that. You're an absolute star, and I think I think all her points are relevant, and I do agree with them. And the points you just made there, actually, this transition that perhaps civilians make rather than soldiers make. A soldier chooses to join the army and whatever and do that, but as civilians, if we have to pick up arms, it's not through choice. It's through it's only by having no other choice. You would like to think. And there's that moment when, again, towards the start of this story, when Megan and Yaz first appear and they have to fight their way through a bunch of Banshees. And there's a really nice contrast, because Megan is quite happy to pick up the sonic cannon and start blasting and everything else, and kind of almost maybe not relishes it. But Yaz is quite horrified by this and makes the points where, why are you like this? And, you're a paramedic. You're supposed to be all about saving lives. And Megan's like, human lives. These are alien monsters. And this is a theme that goes right through. The Banshee are just labelled as monsters by the humans. And, and this again is the power of words, or part of the weaponization of words. You describe a bunch of people as monsters, often enough people will start to believe it. They'll take action, and it's not going to end well. And again, this is stuff we're seeing right now happening. It's I'm not going to make any comment on it, but what's out there. And that's terrifying. And so many people are quite easily swayed by that and are willing to pick up arms and start shooting at so-called monsters. So that's a horrific thing that we're seeing. There's also another moment as well, actually, which is where, hold on, sorry, just bear with me. I've just got to find it. It's related to that, and I've kind of forgotten about it. Hold on. Right, yes, there we go. Right, yes, sorry. It's where Yaz... Okay, so Megan gets killed by Banshees and is actually properly dead, which is actually quite a shocking moment, because we're so used to the Doctor being shot and no, I'm fine. That obviously is going to happen, but Megan is shot and killed, and again in a relatively, like I said, on the surface, the tone of this story is quite light. So for this to happen, it's another sort of yank back into something a lot weightier than what the surface level seems to be dealing with. And Yaz's reaction is again to pick up the sonic cannon and start blasting. And it takes a lot of persuasion from the Doctor to make Yaz realise what she's doing. And there's a brilliant line which I started writing down and listened to it, which is, the Doctor says to Yaz, you are a good person, and you can stick to your principles, i.e. of, resolving conflicts peacefully and always looking for the better option and always striving to be the better person, and almost having that kind of moral high ground, where you choose not to take up arms, you choose to argue it out instead, or work for whatever, that kind of thing. And the Doctor says, we can stick to those principles most of the time as we go about our daily lives. But what happens when they're tested, when they're truly tested in a theatre of war and shit is kicking off all over the place, and this sort of thing happens, someone close to you dies, are you then going to stick to those principles?
Yeah.
Yaz does eventually, but there's that moment where she didn't, where her reaction was to seek revenge, to get justice, actually, I think is what she calls it, for Megan being blitzed. So again, there's lots of very powerful moments kind of woven into this, as I said, relatively light kind of plot.
There's a lot to...
It's pretty good.
Unpack in it, and a lot of things to think about, as well, So, I mean, talking to you now about it, and like I said, I wanted to re-listen anyway, but I want to, concentrate more fully on it. Not that I wasn't before, but like really kind of
give it the time it deserves. I think a lot of these Big Finish audio, I mean, I find it, I do need to listen to them at least twice to really get a good handle. I've only listened to this the once, but it's quite fresh in my mind, because I've only literally just finished it, listen, before recording this, and I was making notes as I went. But I don't always do that. I'll just listen to it, and because it's audio, I'm sort of maybe looking at something else. So maybe playing a game on my
Yeah.
phone, or just, I don't know, just arsing around on my computer or something. So I'm never giving it the full attention, or I'm driving, you know what I mean? So I do need to listen to them 2 or 3 times to really get under the skin of things and to appreciate them, I think.
You know, I quite often listen in the car, but, you know, this one came out and I'm not doing any sort of length of driving at the near future. So, you know, I listened to it last night whilst doing some stuff on the computer. So I was listening, but, you know, like you said, it just, I think because, you know, time's tight and, you know, all of that kind of thing, you know, they often need a couple of listens to sort of really open up. And also just for the fact that I've enjoyed it, I want to go back to it.
Well, absolutely.
You know, so I'm looking forward to that. Right, well, they haven't announced what the 5th story is going to be in the series. I'm looking forward to that. Well, maybe, yeah.
The Tourist Trap.
Yeah.
That.
They normally announce the next episode, like when the new one was come out. So maybe later today they'll reveal that. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you for listening, Katie. Thank you for your comments. And we will be back with another episode of Who Corners Corner very soon.
Yes, indeed. And thank you to all our watchers and listeners for listening.
Thank
We'll be with you very, very shortly.
Yeah.
Check us out. And don't forget to share us with your friends. If you love what we do, then please help us get the word out there. We'd love more people to listen to us and comment and you know, pitch in with ideas and all sorts of things. So that's all good.
Please get involved and join in.
All of that. All of the above. Thank you again and see you next time.
Bye.
Corner to Corner. Bye for now.
Bye.